Now back to the Lori Moore Show, only on your CW7.
It's been a rather celebratory mood around the building lately, celebrating 65 years of News Channel 3. Joining us to tell us all about it, a gentleman who has been with them for a good portion of that, 26 years to be exact, Chief Meteorologist Keith Thompson. Keith.
Crazy. I can't believe.
I know. You've been there 40% of the history.
I know. You know.
Not to alarm you.
Not to alarm me. When somebody actually did the math and told me, I was quite alarmed, and I was like, no, your math is wrong. And then I actually did it in my head. It's like, wow, you're right.
It's true.
It is true. It's true.
Well, we started with WKZO Radio.
Right. Yes, exactly. And, you know, that's where it all started. And the television station sprung out of that very strong foundation. Obviously, without the success of WKZO Radio, who knows if there would have even have been a WKZO TV.
And then there was a newfangled thing that came along, courtesy of John Fetzer.
That's true. And you know, it's crazy. He had obviously such a vision. And he was right. I mean, you know, look, I think right now we're so accustomed to the television that we think, oh, come on, it would have been a no-brainer back in 1950 to sign on a television station. But at that time, you know, radio ruled the roost. And there was no precedent or history of this visual box and how people would respond to it. So in that regard, truly a pioneer to sort of put his neck out there on the line.
You've been putting together some special features for News Channel 3, and we are thrilled to share those with our viewers today. Let's take a look at John Fetzer's legacy.
June 1st, 1950, and WKZO-TV begins broadcasting a television signal to West Michigan, an early affiliate of the CBS television network. The station was brought to life by broadcasting pioneer John Fetzer, who 20 years earlier had started WKZO-AM in Kalamazoo. Through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, Channel 3 brought the news of the day to television viewers in West Michigan.
It's just not necessary for somebody in Washington to run the public schools here in Kalamazoo in the state of Michigan. So I make you the pledge that neither party has made you. We're going to turn your schools back to you.
Like this 1968 campaign stop in Kalamazoo by presidential candidate George Wallace.
We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em, Tiger.
In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the station had a close relationship with the Detroit Tigers because John Fetzer owned them from 1961 through 1983. And that included the magical 1968 World Series championship year.
Mr. Fetzer right back.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When starting pitcher Denny McLain won an amazing 30 games. Fast forward to the middle 1980s. John Fetzer sells WKZO-TV, and it becomes WWMT, the letters standing for We're West Michigan Television, and viewers learn to say, hello, West Michigan.
Judy Marquis and Keith Thompson are getting ready for you.
A new weekday morning newscast begins in 1989. Judy Marquis anchors the news, and yours truly brings you the weather. In the middle 1990s, a new owner steps forward, Granite Broadcasting, and we introduce a new 3 logo and build a new state-of-the-art news set.
All right. FCC has a regulation about why we had to change the name.
Yeah.
We couldn't have different owners with WKZO Radio and TV, right? Is that why it changed to WWMT?
Well, I think when they sold it, you know, remember when John Fetzer sold it, that's when the radio station and the television station were split.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, too, that the name sort of then diverged.
It didn't catch for everyone, though. My mom still calls it WKZO.
A lot of people.
And I got a lot of mail at the radio station for it, too.
Oh, I bet you did. And a lot of people still say, call it WKZO-TV, because that's what it was, until the mid-'80s. So for 35, 36 years, more than half of the history we're talking about right now, this was WKZO.
That's right.
Not WWMT. And so people still call it that.
I liked your hair.
Oh, thanks. I come in a nice rug. Yeah. It's like, what was I thinking? Why didn't somebody like grab me by the neck and say, no, you're not going to do this?
Fluff it up a little bit.
Of course, who knows? Maybe in another 10 years, I'll look at this and I'll be like, why did you let me dress like that?
You know, when I was growing up, Keith, we had 2 stations, one of which, of course, was Channel 3.
Yes.
And the big excitement in our lives was when we got to come on Channel 3 Clubhouse. And when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at some of the programming from over the years. Some real legendary stuff.
it's what people remember for sure.
It is for sure. But first, our trivia question. In the summer of 1921, the Kalamazoo Musical Society sponsored the founding of the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra. Lending his expertise and musical skills, C.Z. Bronson, who we've been hearing about all week, was the first conductor. How much was he paid? We'll tell you when we come back on The Lori Moore Show on your CW7.
Follow The Lori Moore Show on Facebook or Twitter.
Our trivia question. In the summer of 1921, the Kalamazoo Musical Society sponsored the founding of the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra. Lending his expertise and musical skills, C.Z. Bronson was the first conductor. How much was he paid? Nothing. He volunteered his time to the cause, and he is credited with getting things rolling with the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra and the Kalamazoo Concert Band and Westerns Orchestra. He was a busy dude. Well, we have a special show for you today, the history of News Channel 3 with Chief Meteorologist Keith Thompson, who has been putting together these great features and sharing them on the news at night, and we're happy to share them today. We were talking before the break about some of the special programs that were on Channel 3 over the years. That's been local programming. There was more of it than there is today.
There was more of it. You know, I don't even know if there was this term at the time, syndicated television programming.
Right.
You know, that would be offered to television stations, and they would have to pay for it. But you know, with national advertising, I mean, the landscape changed obviously. And if you want to know why you don't see Romper Room anymore, or you don't see, you know, these shows that you watched as a kid growing up, instead you're seeing these talk shows, it's because the landscape has changed and it's become more financially, I guess, attractive to do those other shows.
Yeah.
But it sure was a time then when, you know, and you know, I wanted to focus. There's so many programs. I mean, 50 years or 65 years of programming. You know, there's so many shows, programs that you could talk about, but I don't have that much time to do, and so really ended up focusing on a couple of the shows, primarily anyway, that I think people still talk about.
Oh, they do. I can't tell you how many people, when they come in the building to be on with me, say, the last time I was in this building was when I was on Channel 3 Clubhouse.
Yeah.
It was the same for me, too.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
You'd come with your brownie troop. You'd come with your class.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a blast. Let's take a look at Keith's feature on programming throughout the years on News Channel 3.
I'll just take a cup of coffee.
One of the first regular television shows on WKZO-TV would be its longest running and one of the most popular.
And let you know.
Rimwall and the Green Valley Boys were already a staple on WKZO radio when the TV station began. They moved their live program to the screen.
And people would gather around the dinner plates and watch the show. They'd come out from farming. They'd come in, and my dad always requested if anybody had any requests for anybody, well, send them in. You know, keep those cards and letters coming in.
The audience not only kept the requests coming, they also asked for a chance to be on the show with the band. And according to Rim's son, Rendell, who was also a member of the Green Valley Boys, the answer was often yes.
Every time they asked Dad if they could be on to try their, you know, vocation, the part that they loved was singing. Well, there was no other place in town that you could really go. My dad says, well, let's try out. He'd hit a couple licks and they'd do their thing, and he says, yeah, I think we'll let you on.
Rimwall and the Green Valley Boys were on WKZO-TV from the early 1950s to the middle 1980s, an amazing run of more than 30 years.
Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to the Channel 3 Clubhouse, where
local children were the stars of what is likely the most popular and remembered show in Channel 3 history, Channel 3 Clubhouse.
Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Channel 3 Clubhouse. I'm glad you could join us today.
The show had several hosts during its run from the 50s through the 80s. Beanie Brown, Uncle Fred, Cynthia Kay, just to name a few.
What do you like to do, Nicole? Play outside.
Kids lucky enough to be chosen to be on the Clubhouse had an experience they would never forget. Like Brian Maloney, who remembers being on the show in 1964 when he was just 4 years old.
I think the door was back over, is where this door was at right now. We walked in back here. I remember we had to file in 3 at a time because you had the 3, and I believe the stands were here kind of at a diagonal angle. And we come into the studio and we were let in. We were told we had to be really, really quiet. We had to keep our hands to our sides. We couldn't touch the person in front of you, no prodding or anything like that. I remember them going over all these rules.
It's time for the Lori Moore Show.
The tradition of producing local programming continues today with the Lori Moore Show, a half-hour program all about things happening in our community. It airs on the CW7.
So I watch Channel 3 all the time, and I was a big Channel 3 Clubhouse fan. I also watched Accent when I was growing up, which was a show similar to my own, rather related to that. And so I think it's great that we've brought back a local talk format. Aw.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, and it is true because, local programming, I do think, is important. And, maybe in the big cycle, it's going to come back. Because as you know, the pendulum swings back and forth. And there was a time when it was all about the local programming. And then it moved away to all syndicated. And I think perhaps there's now building a hunger again for programs like what you have here, where it's like, let's talk about what's going on in our community and our town, and not so much about what's going on in other places.
That's right.
One other thing that's interesting is the studio that we're sitting in right now is where that stuff happened. I mean, that's the thing I think that sort of blows me away. It's like, you talk about 65 years, and it was like, yeah, that was a long time ago. And I know there were a few years, obviously, in the Burdick Hotel. But the television station moved here, I believe, in the 1950s. And everything that's been done since then, like the picture that you see there, it's in these walls that are still here.
If these walls could talk.
If these walls could talk. And that's what I said about my story. It is, and it's true, if these walls could talk. And Brian there, who was talking about, I think that we came in that door right over there. I mean, he was right, I think, in his orientation of the pictures that I've seen. So if you were to bring other people from the clubhouse in here, I think they would seriously, if they had a good memory, they could definitely say, like,
they could recognize
I remember
things.
Coming in this way. He was right on, spot on.
Keith mentioned community and how important it is to showcase your community.
Yes.
News Channel 3 has been very involved with the community over the years. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the things that they've had their fingers in as we take a look back at 65 years of News Channel 3 on the Lori Moore Show on your CW7. So proud to be a part of News Channel 3 now. Grew up with it, watched it every single day. My brothers and I would wake up when they still had what they call the thing that we showed at the beginning, the symbol.
Yeah.
When there was nothing even on. We'd stare at it.
Oh, yeah.
Then we'd watch the farm show.
The
pattern. Watch the farm show. Then we'd watch cartoons. And, so loving my Channel 3. So pleased and proud to be here. Keith, there's been a lot of community involvement over the years, and you took a look at some of the many things that Channel 3 has done to make it a better place to be. Let's look.
Before WKZO-TV even existed, John Fetzer's WKZO AM radio was talking to the man on the street, getting in touch with the community. Fast forward several decades and you find the same spirit in efforts like Our Town, which shined a positive light on some of West Michigan's well-known but smaller communities in the late 1980s and early 90s. It was also during this time when we encouraged people to say, hello, West Michigan.
I believe that it's been a direct result from that hope from Honduras.
When Hurricane Mitch slammed into the Central American nation of Honduras in 1998, it brought the most devastating flooding the country had seen in a century. With the help of local businesses, WWMT raised tens of thousands of dollars with hope for Honduras, and then documented how that money helped rebuild the shattered nation. Also in the 1990s, WWMT teamed with local businesses and the Kalamazoo Country Club to host the Coke Classic, a golf tournament which raised tens of thousands of dollars for the Kalamazoo Valley Habitat for Humanity. News Channel 3 has been a proud supporter of the Kalamazoo Classic, the race up Maple Street Hill, which attracts more than 1,000 runners, all to help MRC Industries. And just last year, when God's Kitchen, supplying thousands of free meals each year to the homeless and hungry in Battle Creek, needed cash to keep its doors open, News Channel 3 was there to help.
That's awesome. And, your anchors are everywhere on boards, emceeing this and that and charity events and running and walking. And, it's really great what they do.
And it's an honor. I'm telling you, it's an honor to be able to have a position like that, to be able to put yourself in a position to where it's like you can help out. And you find out that there's so many other people, too, who are behind the scenes, who we don't hear about.
That's right.
and they're working hard.
The unsung heroes.
That's right.
You know, we got to know a lot of people over the years, Keith. You know, when you're growing up and watching people, you feel like you know them.
Yes.
And you have yet to come one more feature for our viewers about where are they now.
Right. Monday, the last piece that we're doing is try to catch up with folks, you know, and I get that question so much, you know, well, whatever happened to so-and-so? Whatever happened to so-and-so? We're going to try to catch up with a few of the names anyway. Again, over the years, like you said, these are people who, you know, we've grown up watching. And just to try to let you know, well, here's where they are now, and here's what they're up to now. And, you know, I think it's going to be hopefully a nice way to sort of wrap it up. It's like, you know, people, like you said, we are in living rooms still, or whatever you want to call it, on cell phones now.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody who you've been watching for a while goes away, and it's sort of a way of reconnecting in your own memory to say, well, where are they now? You know, what are they up to? They didn't just fall off the planet. And so that's what I plan to do on Monday.
Very good. And you're going to have a special web discussion
do a webcast as well. Because, you know, I'm not going to be able to cover everybody. I mean, for real, it would take literally hours, perhaps, to do all of that. So what I'm planning to do is to highlight a few spots, a few folks, you know, Monday on News Channel 3 at 5, and then be on a web chat from 7 to 8. So it's like if you just want to pop in, you know, I think it's a pretty easy way just to say, like, hey, where's so-and-so?
Keith, thank you so much for telling us the history and for being such a big part of it over the years, too.
Thanks for having me.
26
and thanks for
years.
Having a local program right here.
Thank you, Keith. Well, coming up on Monday's show, we'll talk with Mary Kay Peterson, a great organization called Cancer Families United. They have an event that we want to tell you about. A lobby on Capitol Hill for childhood cancer funding. They'll tell us more about what they were up to there as well. We'll tell you about a new park at the Rickman House, and we'll be joined by Genesis Fitness and Wellness. We have great weather for the weekend. Keith, thank you for that. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and watch more segments online at WWMT.com. I'll see you at the sidewalk sales. Save me some stuff. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday on The Lori Moore Show on your CW7.
The Lori Moore Show is underwritten by the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. Love where you live. The Lori Moore Show is also brought to you in part by these other fine sponsors. Furniture provided by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries of West Michigan.